So as we finish up going on the grav lift, we're going to be launched onto a platform here that's going to be filled with a bunch of Sentinels that'll be spawning throughout the room. And our main priority here is we wanted to shoot a rocket at the Sentinels. You're not really aiming to hit them, you just kind of want to let them know that you're there. And then you'll go in and you'll duck behind cover while using your thruster ability. This will cause all of the Sentinels to kind of congregate towards the center, where you can then pull out your sword and start dashing and slicing them up. Now these guys will all have shock rifles, and they do quite a bit of damage. You don't want to get hit more than just a couple times or else you will die. So that's why we're constantly using the sword instead of electing to use the rocket launcher to take multiple at a time. That way we can consistently get our shields back and we're not going to get clapped on the way there. Now after you kill a couple of them, you should still be using the cover and your thruster ability efficiently. That way you can get them to lose track of you. And once they lose track of you, and after you've already alerted them that you're there, they will all just kind of hover around the center, and you'll be able to easily come back and get a free hit on them with the sword as well. After you're done with that, you just go up to the console, activate it, and we'll move on to the next section of this level here.
Spires are all now active. Oh.
What is it?
Now after you're done watching the cutscene, what we're going to be doing is we're just going to walk to the walls that'll start to be descending there, and we'll grapple our way up. Just follow the blue glowing lights on them and you'll find your way up to the next section. You can just follow my path here. Like I said, there's just going to be a bunch of blue glowing lights you can just easily make your way up to.
Ask him.
Now up in this next section, there's going to be a power cell that you're going to need to grab in order to activate the grav lift up here. Now you don't actually have to kill anyone in this area, but you can choose to do so if you need to. As in, if you happen to get spotted by a couple of them or you needed shields, you're more than welcome to actually end up killing them. You can see I killed a couple of them in this one, but you don't need to kill any of them. Actually, you can just grab it and run. The only issue with grabbing it and run is after you get the grav lift activated and you use the grav lift, if you are spotted while you're going through the grav lift, they can still shoot at you, and if there's a lot of them there that start shooting at you while you're going on it, you will take quite a bit of damage and potentially even die. So you can see that one that I left alone, or the two I left alive there, were shooting at me through the grav lift, and they can do quite a bit of damage with the weapons they have. Now as you progress through this next room, this is actually going to be one of the few rooms where you're actually going to have to kill all the enemies in there in order to progress. But this is actually going to be pretty easy, as there's only going to be a couple skimmers, jackals, and grunts that you're going to have to deal with. And the skimmers you're not really going to have to worry about too much. I would prioritize taking them out though, as the only issue with them is since they all have rocket launchers, they'll only shoot at you if you're far away. So if you don't take them out and you instead choose to go off to like the side of the room to kill some of the grunts, they can start shooting at you then. So I like to take them out before they actually are any kind of a threat, since they're not going to shoot at you while you're close to them, so you don't have to worry about them. After you take out that room, you're going to actually want to clear out a little bit of this one. The only two you're going to really have to worry about are the two berserker brutes that are going to be rushing at you, as they'll usually be able to see you and you're not going to be able to just sneak your way past them as often, as more than likely they'll be able to get a hit or two off of you as you're trying to dash past, and just two of their hits can usually kill you if you don't have full shields. So I usually like to kill them, and you can see I'm just making sure I have full shields before I go on, but you don't even need to kill the rest of them. And then for the rest of this level, up until you get to the boss fight, you can pretty much just run past everything. So you see this whole next room, I'm just making a mad dash towards the teleporter. You go to the next room, you see the door, there's not going to be any enemies in this first of the three rooms you'll have to run past. And then all of the connector rooms you can also just run past as well. Now the connector rooms, they're a little bit more troublesome, as I usually like to kill one or two of the enemies in there, as the door takes a little bit for the animation to open. So while it's opening, I usually like to kill a couple of them just so I can make sure I'm getting my shields back while they might potentially see me while waiting for the door. So that's what I like to do there. I find it the most safe and most reliable. And I also like to be throwing my dynamos if I need to, as some of those brutes can be a handful if they pull out their rocket launcher. Now the same type of situation will happen with these two berserker brutes in this hallway, as you want to kill them in particular, as they'll cause a lot of damage to you if you just try and run past them. Now one thing to note though is killing them is going to alert all the enemies in the previous room, and they will slowly start making their way back. So you can see I ended up getting shot a little bit by the people behind me, so normally you can just run past, but I decided I'm just going to get my shields back since it's pretty easy to do with these guys anyway. But I figured I might as well not have to worry about these guys chasing me for a bit. So I'm just going to take care of a majority of them now. So after you figured out that you're sufficiently ready for the next section, we'll go up the grav lift and get ready for the next section we'll be dashing through. Now again, we're just going to be doing the same thing where we're just going to be dashing past everything. This first room of this section, you'll be going through the bottom left corner of the wall, and then you'll be doing the same thing on the next little yellow wall thing. But instead of following me there, you're actually going to be turning right immediately after, jumping past these two barricades, turning left, running through again. If you happen to need any shields, you're more than welcome to melee someone just like I did there. I know I didn't need any shields there, but it's just showing you how easy you can do to get your shields back. And then you'll just be running past and going through the teleporter and make our way to the boss.
Are you two done yet?
Totally.
I mean, the Spire.
So did I. Mostly. We're nearly at the top.
Now once you get to the boss fight, it's going to be the exact same type of boss fight that we had on the Spire, where we're fighting the Sentinel boss. So like I said, the mechanics of the boss itself are the exact same, but the only main difference we're going to have in this one is that he will call in some Sentinel friends to help you out. Now they're not going to be much of an issue, as you're not going to have to worry about trying to lure them over to the ground, as all the Sentinels will naturally be hovering right above the ground, and you can just run out, sword them all, and you'll be doing the same thing, just get your shields back. So if anything, this one might even be a little bit easier, as you'll have more opportunities to be getting your shield back than the previous boss fight would. But just like the previous boss fight on the Spire, we're going to be following the same type of strategy where you just hover around each of the pillars that are protruding from the ground. Note that they will disappear after a period of time after you've been hovering around them for too long, so you just move on to one of the next pillars. So you just hide behind them while you're reloading your rocket launcher, and then once you're reloaded, pop out again, take 2 more shots at the boss. Again, so long as you hit the body of the boss, he's going to be taking damage, plus all of his mechanical arms are also going to be taking damage too, and you'll be doing extra damage every time you destroy one of those. And more than likely, you'll end up destroying more than one at a time because you're doing splash damage with the rocket launcher, which is pretty nice. Now, one key thing you want to avoid is you really want to avoid, similar to how you did in the Spire, is you want to avoid his big destruction beam that he does after you destroy one of his mechanical arms, as that does a lot of damage. So you want to really make sure you're hiding behind the pillars and using your active camo to make sure that he loses track of where you are, so that way you can get a new fresh hit on him and catch him by surprise every single time you engage him. But other than that, you're just going to be rinsing and repeating. Make sure you kill the Sentinels that are going to be patrolling, as if you let them stack up too much, every time that you poke your head out, you'll be getting shot at by 20 different people, and you don't want that. So every time he calls down a Sentinel, just pull out your sword, get your shields back real quick. 1 to 2 hits will kill them all, depending on if the Sentinel has a shield around it or not. And one last thing is, every time that you break one of his mechanical arms, he'll be completely defenseless, and that'll allow you to go in and get another melee in case you need shields and you've already destroyed all the Sentinels. So if he did hit you a couple times, and like I said, you already destroyed the Sentinels, you're able to get your shields back and you'll be ready to continue the boss fight with full shields. So after you finish killing the boss, the center pillars will start to descend, allowing you access onto the main platform. And we're just going to go on top of that platform and access the elevator, which will take us up to the final firefight that we're going to have to deal with in this level.
There should be an elevator that will...
Now we're going to be using the same type of strategy we've been using ever since we've upgraded our thruster ability, which is we're just going to go in with our sword, use our active camo, and just make sure that your sword is the one that's active, because I know every time that you load into a new quote-unquote zone, like how it did the loading cutscene in between the cuts here, it swapped out my grenades and weapons here. So just make sure you have your sword out, and we're just going to be following the same type of strategy. Just zoom in and out, pull out your sword, slice and dice them up, get your shields back every time you melee someone, so that way you'll always have full shields going up to the next enemy, and you'll eventually just take them out. Now this is also why we also want to use our rocket launcher, is not for these enemies, but for the part that's going to come afterwards. So it's going to be very helpful that we have that here. One more thing just to keep track of, and this will kind of follow through for everything, is the grunts are actually one of the more dangerous enemies when you're using the sword strategy here, as they have the disruptor, and if they hit you a couple times with it, they'll put a ticking damage on you that'll do damage over time, and you just don't want to get hit by that because you're not going to be able to get your shields back. Anyway, once you activate the phantoms that are going to be coming by, you're just going to pull out your rocket launcher and hide behind the walls here, so that way they aren't going to be able to shoot at you much. And you want to make sure you're using your active camo, so when you do pop out in the open, they're not going to immediately start blasting at you with the turrets they got on the phantom. So that way you can get your 2 shots off from safety and you'll be good to go. There's going to be a total of 3 phantoms that you're going to be shooting off, and 2 of them you don't actually have to end up fully destroying, as they tend to fly away after doing a certain amount of damage to them. 2 rockets is usually enough, but the 3rd one you're actually going to have to fully destroy, and 4 rockets will do plenty of damage for it. 3 rockets will actually destroy it, but 4 will speed up the process, and you'll be able to hurry that along. And then you just go up to the center console and you'll be done with this mission. And that was the Command Spire for Laso. Congrats. Thank you everyone for watching. If you found this helpful, you can check out the rest of my Halo Infinite Lasso playlists for my previous guides, and stay tuned for the upcoming Lasso guides as well. As always, I'd appreciate any feedback to help improve my future guides, as I will be updating all of these Lasso guides as more tips and tricks come out. And until next time, see ya!